We have come to the last part of our program where we started with the question of suffering, where does it come from? And we have seen that at the beginning there was the paradise. The paradise was lost because of Satan's rebellion, and Adam and Eve following him, losing the straight way, and God providing a way out, a way back to paradise. Promised to Adam and Eve the straight way. The straight way that we find in the Quran, going from Adam and Eve through Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and those who are under God's favor. Those who are led into the right way. Those who not just pray for the right way, but follow it. And we have seen that someone in the Quran says, follow me, obey me. This is the right way. And this person is Jesus Christ. What a wonderful discovery. I think that you have watched this series to try to find a way to see if the Quran is telling the truth here or not. Searching in the Quran, searching in the Bible. Do this. As I used to say, don't believe what I say, believe what the book says. Your book, the book of the Christians, the book of the Muslim, it doesn't matter now. What we want to know is the Quran an upgrade of the Bible, yes or no? And what we see is, as the Quran itself says, is just a confirmation, something pointing to the Bible, pointing back to the message of the Bible, away from the Christian traditions. My friends, we should not cover the Quran with new traditions, going away from that message that was given at the beginning, given and confirmed by the Quran. We're not talking about inspiration, yes or no. We're talking about the fact that the Quran itself says the book, the Bible, is light, admonition, and guidance on the straight way. So let's come back to the Garden of Eden and briefly see how it continues. Genesis chapter 3, verse 23 and 24. Therefore the Lord God sent him out of the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which he was taken. So he drove out the man, and he placed cherubim at the east of the Garden of Eden, and a flaming sword which turned every way to guard the way to the tree of life. The Bible speaks about a way here, the way to the tree of life. This is the way that Adam and Eve have lost. Let's go back to the Quran here, Surah Al-Araf, verse 24, where Allah said, get you down with enmity between yourself. On earth will be your dwelling place and your means of livelihood for a time. For a time, because God said there will be a way back. A way back to what? A way back to eternity. A way back to the tree of life. A way back to the plan of God that was at the beginning. The plan of God was not that suffering would come onto this planet. This is the result of the rebellion of the devil. God wants us to be happy and to live forever. And that's why the central message of the Bible is the reunion we will have someday with God. Well, God will create everything anew, create a new world as it was at the beginning. Let's read some of this beautiful text. A text taken from the book of Jude, quoting Enoch, the seventh from Adam. Jude 1, 14, 15. Now Enoch, the seventh from Adam, prophesies about this man also saying, behold, the Lord comes with 10,000 of his saints to execute judgment on all, to convict all who are ungodly among them of all their ungodly deeds which they have committed in an ungodly way, and of all the harsh things which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. The Lord comes with 10,000 of his saints. Job, we have talked about Job. The patriarch was suffering so much. Mid in the night of his suffering, he said, Job 19, 25 to 26, for I know that my Redeemer lives, and he shall stand at last on the earth. And after my skin is destroyed, this I know, that in my flesh I shall see God. This message is so fundamental that Jesus always talked about it. He said to his disciples, let's read just one text here, John 14, verse 1. Let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you, and if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may be also. Let not your heart be troubled. I will come again. I will take you with me. I've prepared a beautiful place for you. This place is so important. That's the central message of the Bible. Can you imagine the salvation? Can you imagine the story of redemption, the death of Jesus? Everything would happen without the final solution of an ending up of suffering, wars, injustice, and sickness. Which sense would it make if we would continue living on that planet for millions of years, destroying each other, seeing how the world is getting wicked and wicked, pollution, growing, garbage, and so many problems on that planet? No, God has bought the price to save us. He has paid for us to take us to His property back home in the new paradise. If I may give you an example, it's like you pay to set a slave free, and the slave would stay in the cage. It's impossible. Or even you would buy something, you purchase a vehicle. Let's take this example. And you purchase the vehicle, you pay the price, and you never come to the shop to take the vehicle back to your home and put it in your garage or drive with it. Doesn't make sense. The coming of Jesus, the new world that God has promised, is the central message. And without this message, nothing makes sense in the Bible and in the Quran. The Quran also speaks a lot about this. I made a small list of the different words used in the Quran to express the last hour, the end, the day, the hour, the day of victory, the day of reunion, the day of the first hour, the day of resurrection, the day of judgment, the day of the execution, the day of fears and lamentations, the day of eternity, the day of reckoning, the meeting place, the house after, the reward. And there are many, many other expressions, both in the Bible and the Quran. I wanted to put the text on the screen here from the Quran to show you how beautiful these words are. Can you see that? The day of eternity, the day of victory, the day of reunion, the reward. How beautiful are these words. An amazing discovery is that the Bible gives us a lot of signs when the end will come. They are called the signs of the times. And we want to take a few minutes to study them. We go back to the Bible, the book of Matthew. In Matthew 24, he said in verse 1 and followings, "Then Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came up to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said to them, 'Do not you see all these things? Assuredly I say to you that not one stone shall be left here upon another that shall not be thrown down.'" Can you imagine Jesus and his disciples being like tourists in Jerusalem, watching at this beautiful temple, admiring this wonderful construction? And Jesus said, not one stone will remain on the other. Actually, we know that a few years later, the Roman army came to Jerusalem, destroyed the city, and because one of the generals of the army supposed that there was gold hidden between the stones of the temple, he ordered his army to take away the walls of the temple, stone by stone, to look for this gold. So what Jesus said really happened. The disciples are shocked. How can it be that this wonderful construction, this wonder of the world, might be so much destroyed that one stone will remain on the other? So they come to Jesus in verse 3 and say, "Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age. The disciples ask a threefold question. When will be the destruction of Jerusalem? When will be your coming? And when will be the end? Three questions, three things that is going to happen in the future. Now, if we look at history, we see that these three events are separated. The city of Jerusalem was destroyed, as I said, but Jesus has not come yet, and the end has not come. It's a little bit like driving, and in front of you, you see a big mountain. And as you pass by the mountain, you see that there were three peaks separated, and not just one. In the same way, the Bible speaks about the future and shows us one event altogether, but we know that there was a part of it that was fulfilled when Jerusalem was destroyed, but that we're still waiting for the end of the world and for Jesus' second coming. In verse 4 and followings, Jesus answers and says, "Take heed that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name saying, 'I am the Christ,' and will deceive many." The first sign of Jesus' coming is that there will be deception. People who bring a fake Christianity, false Christs and false Christians, wrong religions, people affirming something they call the truth, but it's not the truth. Another sign in verse 6 and 7, war. And then it continues with rumors of war. But Jesus says, "See that you are not troubled, for these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. And there will be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in various places." Signs of the times: war, pestilences, earthquakes, famines. The text continues. Jesus says all these are the beginning of sorrows. Then they will deliver you up to tribulation and kill you, and you will be hated by all nations for my name's sake. And then many will be offended, will betray one another, and will hate one another. Jesus says that one of the signs of the time will be that people will hate each other, especially even religious people will hate others, and under the cover of religion, persecute people who think and speak and believe in a different way. Next one, lawlessness will abound. The love of many will grow cold. Selfishness will grow. People think of themselves, forget about God, forget about the needs of the other. Love will grow cold. In another text, Paul says to his disciple Timothy, "But know this, that in the last days perilous times will come, for men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy." The text continues, "Unloving, unforgiving, slanderers, without self-control, brutal, despisers of good, traitors, headstrong, haughty, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God." Signs of the time: love of people, love of money, no love for God, no love for the others. Selfishness, the love will grow cold. The Bible continues in Hosea, an amazing text. It is said that by swearing and lying, killing and stealing and committing adultery, they break all restraint with bloodshed upon bloodshed. And he said, "Therefore the land will mourn, and everyone who dwells there will waste away with the beasts of the field and the birds of the air. Even the fish of the sea will be taken away." Even the fish of the sea will be taken away. Can you imagine how 2,600 years ago, one person speaks about a day when the fish of the sea will die? Completely unbelievable a few decades ago. But now we know, because we see our fishermen who need to go further and further, always far away from home, to get the same fish they had just in front of their country on the seashore a few decades ago. The sea is dying. The fishes are dying. Ecological system is going crazy because of selfishness of human beings. Let me sum up and make a small list of what the Bible calls the signs of the times. False religions, wars and rumors of war, great calamities, famine and sicknesses, persecutions, anxiety and perplexity because of the sea, degradation of the environment, materialism and atheism, social tensions, spirit of rebellion and autosatisfaction, and the knowledge will increase. We have not read all those texts, but they are in the Bible. If you look for them, you will find them. If not, you can write me a comment under this video, and I'm really glad to give you a comprehensive list. But probably you can find even a text I've not seen, because I don't know everything, of course. An important thing is that some people say, well, there have always been famines and pestilences and wars in history. Yes, that's true. There was always war. There was always persecution. Many religions. The Roman soldiers started, the Jews even persecuted the Christians, and there have been a lot of bad things happening in every century of human history. However, we have to see that the extent of these signs have changed. You see, in Europe for hundreds of years, people have been fighting. But in hundreds of years, less people have died than in one day with an atomic bomb somewhere in the world. Second thing is the importance has changed. You see, today, when there's a crisis somewhere, just even one man speculating on the stock exchange and losing some money, it can happen that the whole financial structure of the world collapses. We have seen that a few years ago. Just someone hacking a big computer somewhere in a country. And the problem is global. All our problems are global because the world is global. And the third remark I want to do about this is that the causes of the problems of the world have changed. You know, before, cataclysm just happened like this. Today we know that the main problems of humanity are caused by humans themselves. That men become richer and richer, some of them. Do you know that the 50 richest families of the world, 50 people, 50, own more money than 99% of the rest of the world? 50 people having billions and billions, while millions of people have no access to clean water, to medicine, and so on, to education. I remember when one day there was a drought in a country of Africa, and England would send tons of beans to that country for the people to be fed. And the strange thing is that those beans actually came from that country, were sold to England for some hard currencies put in a bank in Switzerland probably, or to buy some luxury vehicles. And these beans going from Africa to England were sent back as a donation for the people of this country not to die of hunger. What a paradox. This word is really strange, isn't it? It showed that the problems we have on that planet are human-made, are the result of human selfishness. And the text says that the signs are the beginning of the pains. All the time, Jesus says, these signs are just the beginning. However, 3 times it's written, this and this and this will happen, and then the end will come. What will happen and then the end will come? What will be the very last sign? My dear Muslim friends, preach about it. Tell it to the world, the good news in the Quran. And don't forget that the Quran has been given according to what it says, to confirm the Bible, to bring the people to the gospel, who is guidance, light, and admonition for humanity. Peace, peace. Don't worry. Just be quiet. Just enjoy. Just watch your movie, play your computer games. You know, bread and games. like we said in the old Roman Empire. Let people be like animals, spend their time in pleasures, spend their time in virtual illusions, enjoying a fake peace. I just want to say that these signs have been growing with the time, getting more and more, and that today we live in a time where the three last signs become visible. How will we know who are those who have gone astray and those who are on the right path, who are under God's favor? The Quran itself says, read the Bible, it will guide you into the right path.